Today's matchup. Creator. Sue. Ryung. RagnaroK. Round of 20. Group D.
2022 Hot 6 GSL Season 3.
We're back, everybody. It's time to go to the next matchup. Ryung versus RagnaroK is what we're going to cast for you all. TVZ here. I think this could be a pretty epic one, unless RagnaroK does do something where he decides to end it right away. RagnaroK occasionally gets cheesy, sometimes almost predictably so. Ryung, look, this year he's had some games where he looks so good it's crazy, and then he'll have other games where he just doesn't seem to be that up to date, or he has the same pitfalls in his play that he had in the past.
Yeah, he reminds me a little bit of Gumiho in that regard, where sometimes it feels like he's really on and he's unstoppable. He's like the king of the world, and other times just falls flat. So we'll see what Ryung shows up today. Hopefully a good one, because this group, man, it's shaping up to be really competitive. I mean,
Yeah.
It's also one of the groups we got, Terran, Protoss, and Zerg, a little bit of everything. It's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, we got a nice mix of play styles and players for each race here. Ryung, it's good to see that he's kind of back in GSL now as a regular here. He wasn't always, he kind of was here and then was gone for a while. RagnaroK, this guy's a down and dirty Zerg man. He's not afraid to do weird stuff in games either.
He's been that way for a long time, too.
Yeah.
I remember playing it years ago. Getting smacked around in really humiliating ways.
Oh yeah, well he's got this style. I always wonder with players like this, like how long can you do this for? Because when you gain a reputation for being kind of tricky early on, people just really try to figure out what you're up to and then counter it. But so far he's still been able to pull it off.
Some people can make it work.
Yeah, and he seems to be one of them. We're going to see how Ryung deals with him coming up here. We're going to go to map number 1 now. On Waterfall in this best of 3. Remember, the winner goes on to face off against Creator. The loser up against Sue.
I can do this all day. Believe me when you hear me say I can do this all day. There's nothing I
Team GP. Ryung.
Uh-oh. We have a pause requested here from Ryung. PP. That's what you type in
It is.
before you pause the game.
Has it always been PP?
It's
Was
always
it
been PP.
PPP at some point? Like way back in the day?
It might have been PPP. I think it was some rule that Kespa had in his Brood
That's
War
what I'm
back
thinking
in the
of.
day. And I know some player got in trouble because it was either like 3, he'd put 2 when he was supposed to put 3, or he
Yeah,
put 3
yeah.
when he was supposed to be 2 or something.
Oh, it's probably a sound problem.
Sound issue.
Yeah,
He's like, what is
JKS.
this? Is this the headset Creator used last season? What are we doing? Now, whatever the issue is, I'm sure we'll get it resolved shortly here.
That's a Creator useless.
So,
If I was a pro gamer, that's what I would say. I'm like, this is sound problems.
this is not
Imagine coming
working.
out of the studio. I'm sure we'll get that resolved pretty soon.
So I think
So funny.
the way that we have the sound set up so the players can't hear anything is we pipe in white noise,
Yeah.
and then we have noise canceling headsets over that.
That white noise is loud, man. I've been in that.
It's
I've been in that booth.
It's it's funny because like we just did Tase's LAN party. We got another one coming up, by the way, guys, in like 2 months or something. But like, yeah, I've like running my own little mini event. We had to like look in. Okay, how do they actually do that? I always knew that they couldn't hear anything. But yeah, I put it on and like try to play a game of StarCraft with the white noise going in there. You actually can't hear anything.
No, it's tough to hear like
It's crazy.
your own thoughts at times. Like the white noise gets crazy loud.
It's like you're playing StarCraft, but you're in an airplane and your ears are plugged. Yeah,
Very accurate.
and you can like kind of hear stuff, but Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know what the issue with that sound was. He did some hand motion that maybe he could like here's I don't know what it was.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know why I'm even trying to pretend like I know. I'm like, from his hand motion, I think it's clear that he could hear what we were saying. I have no idea.
Like
I don't even know what. Sometimes this happens when you're casting, where you just start to go down some path. You're explaining something. You're like, I don't know the answer to this. I don't know why. Why am I talking about this?
It's me every time I cast a non-Protoss matchup, man.
That's a thing that a lot of pros experience when they start to cast. I remember when we started doing big events, like globally, like MLGs and IPLs and everything the ESL had put on. Like you'd be working. Well, I would be working with these pros where like these were like the best in the world. They're like, I will only cast my race.
I was the same way at
Yeah,
Home Story Cup.
all pros
yeah.
are like this, and it's like, yeah, no, you're not going to do that. You got to just cast all of them. And
I think it's
because you know that you don't know.
Exactly. That's
I
exactly
get
what
that.
I was going to say.
I get that, but then it's like, but you have to have something to say, right? You got to. It is. It's not a cast for just the best of the best, right? It's got to be
True.
for the nubbins, the noobs, the new people.
I gotta say though,
Yeah.
like sometimes we'll cast like a TVT, like we did on Monday,
Yeah.
and I had like an out-of-body experience trying to like understand like what trades were happening and who was getting an advantage. I'm like, I just don't know. Like I'm
I
I'm
remember
so
that.
out of my depth in this
Oh,
matchup that it's hard to read.
It's tricky, man.
So good to have an audience down here
Yeah,
again.
it's nice seeing people come in here. We've got the regulars that come by the studio from time to time, and then we've got, people who come in here traveling, visiting, tourists who have, it's their first time here. They've been following StarCraft events for, over a decade or two. It's nice, man. It gives me energy, too, to have an audience out here. It was weird during the pandemic casting to, like, nobody. I know I talk about this a lot. I'm sorry. I'm still actually excited to have an audience.
Yeah.
And this game's paused, and I got to talk about something. So this is one of my safety things I talk about when I get uncomfortable. So yeah, man. Hopefully they get this resolved.
Yeah,
Like,
can
so
see the
how about this
admin.
pause, huh?
I can see the admins ready to ask the players if they're ready. So hopefully we get this sorted pretty soon as we see Ryung still trying to sort it out. It seems like I'm gonna try to go down the rabbit hole of like the hand gestures now. It looks
Yeah.
like it's like maybe like the white noise stopped or something. I don't know. Like
Could
with him,
be.
like he's like kind of like on this and he's like gesturing at like these guys.
Yeah, it could be. But
I don't
the thing
know.
is, I don't know what they use for GSL, but on YouTube they actually have just like it's like 10 hours of white noise, and you can click on that
So
and use that.
This is something with me that like if I'm trying to go to sleep, I need noise. I need like a fan or something, and if I
Yeah.
don't have it, I will like fixate on like hearing a car outside my window or something.
Oh,
and I just
yeah.
cannot sleep. So yeah, I'm like Spotify has those too, man. I go down like you
No,
look at like
white-
brown noise or white noise on like Spotify, and like that's what I need to go
Oh,
to
they
bed
have that
sometimes.
on Spotify. Oh,
Yeah.
I bet I could use that because I have a little machine next to my bed, and like you hit like buttons and it has like water like at a creek.
It's like a tape player, like
Yeah, it's,
living in like the 1990s.
I like when it gets all the way to the A side, I got to open up and turn on to the B side. I'm like, all right, now
Like
I'm ready to go to
cassettes or
bed.
something.
No, I have like a machine. My girlfriend bought it for me because like I have tons of problems just falling asleep in general. Like you know that you're like, what is it? A third of your life you sleep, they say.
For me, it's like half my
Third.
life, man. I sleep so much.
No, I feel like it's a fourth of my life I sleep, and then there's like maybe a sixth of my life is spent laying in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about my own death while I try to
existential
fall
dread.
asleep. Yeah, just letting existential dread wash over me. But I did find when I get a white noise machine that kind of like calms my brain down, and I can kind of doze off the bed. But then my girlfriend got one that had like 15 different tracks, and like every night she would put on a different one, and I'm like, this is too much.
Yeah, I
Like,
can't do that.
Yeah,
It's the same with
I'm
me.
like, I don't need to hear like the waves. I
or
need
like
to,
whales.
whale
whale
sounds.
callings.
Yeah. Or if it's like stuff like the whale sounds, I'm like, wait a minute, this is whales in a 3-minute loop. Like I heard that whale earlier.
It's the same whale.
Yeah, I'm like, that's the same whale. How much should we spend on this piece of shit? This is a 3-minute recording of whales.
All right. We are back into the game
Expect
now.
at least an hour, 2 hours with my insomnia.
It's funny too, cause like I've definitely noticed the same kind of thing when like I listen to some of those tracks before. I've done like the rainforest sounds before, and it's like it's
Yeah.
definitely like a 5-minute loop. It's like playing for like 90
no,
minutes.
they've never left that recorder on in the rainforest for long enough to put me to bed. I'm like, I think I heard the same howler monkey in there
Power
earlier.
monkey. All right.
All right. I feel like it's always weird when these pauses happen, but then we like hit a stride, and then the game comes on. I'm like, all right, well, never mind.
Want to talk
All
about?
right,
Want to
drop
talk
it.
about white noise?
Let's
more,
talk about
man?
White Noise Machine. You know, there's a decent number of people that watch this show to go to bed.
Yeah, I was
We're-
thinking
we're-
that when you were talking about existential dread. I'm like, you know, there's at least one viewer that was like having existential dread at home. It's like,
Yeah.
you
It's
know
like,
what? I can deal with this by distracting myself with
It's just
GSL.
like, he like lays in bed. He's like, I'm going to die and be erased. I better turn on GSL.
And then he turns
Then
it on and we're
they do
talking
that.
about it.
And we're talking about it, and then he just eventually falls asleep and has nightmares where he's like, we're talking to him, but he's also naked in his middle school failing a test. Like,
Good times. All right, so Ryung actually didn't go for CC first, which, you know, I was kind of hoping that he might, because if you guys missed one of these TVZ groups that we had earlier in this season, there were like 4 TVZs in a row, which was like basically the same game every single time.
that's right.
CC first into a 2-base all-in with a little bit of like different spice each time, but seemed deadly. Ryung instead going for the Reaper expand, putting down that factory. And I really did feel like we were like hitting a stride there for a moment.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Now, with this, you know, again, we talked about this earlier. RagnaroK really likes to be deceptive almost always in every game, whether that's like a weird tack or a nidus or something. So we want to watch for that.
So far this game, just kind of playing standard though. Going for that third hatch. Nice and quick. Pretty much about as standard as it gets. And actually a third CC going down for Ryung.
Okay, so he's kind of going with that innovation style that we've seen before. Very straightforward. It doesn't offer a lot as far as like trickiness, which builds don't have to, by the way. But instead, it's basically set up to be like, okay, can you just hit all your marks? Can you macro properly? Good, then this is your build.
200 gas banked and a roach warren on the way.
All right.
Not standard after all.
No, not at all. So he's probably going to come in here and hit this pretty hard.
Yeah, and Ryung going for a 3CC build.
Well,
He
that's
could be
when
in
you can be
trouble.
punished. It doesn't seem like the Reaper's going to find much, and the Reaper should be intercepted on the way down.
Now, I don't know if he's going to see the roach warren, and I'm quite sure he missed it, but if you're Ryung in that situation, I'm pretty sure you click on the Vespene Geyser and you see that RagnaroK is probably floating a ton of gas. And you got to have in the back of your mind that something like this is coming, and I'm sure these Hellions coming out here will confirm, as 11 roaches now in production here for RagnaroK, as he is powering up for a big timing. These Hellions are getting a lot of value though, man, I got to say.
Yeah, not bad.
That's half of RagnaroK's economy on hold for maybe 10, 15 seconds, plus delaying the roaches, plus getting the full scout off, and we got Banshees on the way now for Ryung.
Yeah, Banshees with Cloak is always a good answer to any kind of roach aggression here, because they just can't do anything to fight the Banshees at all.
It's similar to like DTs and PBZ, where it's like, oh, if you don't actually go up to lair, you can't kill me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to respect my attack and at least match it, basically.
We'll
now,
see.
that being said, I mean, the Banshee's not out yet, and the roaches are already here.
Yeah, this is going to be a ton of damage coming in on Ryung, and even when the Banshees come out, they're going to kill these roaches slowly, as we already have 6 SCVs down.
Now, behind this, he's making 10 drones.
Yeah.
And this is a lot of SCV kills, man. And keep in mind, he's wiped the ground army. Looks like he's not going to get that last Hellion here, but
That's a nice timing.
it's 34 SCVs to 61, and you know it's so good that RagnaroK knew exactly when to dial it back and go hard into drones, because all that RagnaroK has to do now to defend is to just parry the one Banshee with Cloak, or maybe 2, I think actually. Sorry.
Banshees with Cloak, and there's going to be like maybe 2 Hellions, and that's pretty much it. Besides that, like you said, he completely wiped the Terran ground army. The bio count is reset. No Marines after that push. So he has free reign to drone as much as he wants, and I like that build order selection out of him here in game number 1. That was smart.
Yeah, and it does seem like Ryung is going to land his 3rd CC regardless. I think this is a calculated risk that he just has to take, right? He's behind. He needs to start throwing mules and mineral patches, cranking SCVs, and just trying to step up production as best he can. Ryung is in an advantageous position here, having that worker lead. And I don't think Ryung's going to have that much of an impact here with these Banshees. I mean, he will get some workers no matter what, but you could already see one Banshee picked off and the other in the yellow, low energy, going to go hide up here in the top right.
Yeah, RagnaroK definitely does have the advantage right now in this game. And Ryung landing another mule, but RagnaroK, all these lings, he might not be aware of that third base. I think if he was, there'd be a lot of dead SCVs over there, but instead just kind of posturing in front. I'm shocked he hasn't just like sent a ling or something. Maybe he's thinking like there's no way Ryung is ballsy enough to actually plant that CC.
This will happen to me in games where I'm playing and I'm like, no, that would be so stupid. He wouldn't do that. And then if I had looked, I could have killed it.
He saw those
I think
SCVs.
He sees, the workers here.
That could have been a huge pickup though if he had gotten all 3 of those mules plus the handful of SCVs that were there already. So Ryung getting a little bit of a gimme there.
Yeah, he's getting a bit of a freebie, but you know, Banes are going to come here. 1-1's on the way. I might be wrong. I don't feel like it should be that easy for the Terran to just have the third like that as it is. There's 2 tanks out, and really that's all you have to basically take out in order to force a lift off here.
We'll see now. RagnaroK's coming in, gunning for that mineral line again, but getting pushed back up by these tanks and Marines. And Ryung, 1-1 is finishing now for him, and he's going to have a pretty sizable window where he has an upgrade advantage. But kind of the issue right now is he doesn't really have the army to leverage that. He's going to have to stay defensive back at home, maybe do a little bit of posturing on the map as he's moving out with just these 2 medevacs full of units and planning a 4 CC, so going for the long game.
So, I mean, the question now is going to be, you know, what damage can Ryung do here? RagnaroK's creep spread's pretty good. This is set up so the Terran can basically come in and come back out, although somehow that was a little bit miscontrolled. That was more damage than I was expecting.
Yeah, just a little bit more. The thing though, Ryung with this fast 3rd CC is caught up quite heavily on the worker counts now. With mules, I mean, 75 versus 87 is not too bad a number, especially with that 4th CC underway. This game has the potential to go pretty long.
It seems like it. It does seem like RagnaroK got into a good spot, didn't do that much with it, and you know, this 4th CC way out here, that does seem to be extremely fast, you know, but let's see if he can actually keep it.
One thing to keep an eye on is the creep spread for RagnaroK hasn't been that great considering how much, you know, free reign he had earlier in the game after that roach push.
You really want to pump that creep spread out a lot. I mean, that's the best thing. Creep spread is the best thing in the game.
It's the best thing in RTS.
It's the best thing in RTS as far as I can tell. I mean, just having that and having a highway where you could circulate units around is, you know, it's too good, man. Now, he is roaming with maybe a little bit too much, so he can't scoop up his entire army when it is in a bad spot. And, you know, we're starting to see the point in the game, even though mutas aren't out yet, and I don't even know, is there a spire that's been made? I don't think so. But regardless, the medevacs can't really land anywhere. It's like the floor is lava here. They can't touch the ground. And, you know, that's really showing that Zerg is going to be pretty comfortable here. And he's doing that all despite, you know, neglecting Mutatech here.
Yeah, so Ryung is going to be able to get that 4th base up pretty much for free, though, because RagnaroK is kind of so on the back foot defending all of these drops that Ryung has been doing that he's not really been trying to delay any further expansion here for Ryung. So Ryung getting up to 4 bases is getting pretty close to that kind of critical mass that Terran needs to really start pumping a lot of Widow Mines and Ghosts and stuff like that later in the game. And even Center Tower is going down now. Planetary there at the 4th base for Ryung.
Looks like this hatchery should be picked off over here. And it seems that I'm sorry, not Ryung, RagnaroK is going to go for a counter, but those tanks are way too well placed for him to do that.
Yeah, that counter a little bit ill-advised. He might be able to catch some of these Marines, but we'll see. That's a lot of Banelings, actually. That's more than I was expecting.
Yeah, the siege tanks are going to kill off quite a bit, but this is just such an overwhelming force. It's going to flatten anything that's there. Let's keep in mind, though, on this map, you know, it's shaped in a very specific way. It's taller than it is wide, and so Zerg ends up expanding further and further towards the Terran, which means even though this game should go on for a while longer, there's definitely going to be a strain on the Zerg and somewhat on the Terran as well at holding any of these bases that are closer to that middle area.
Yeah, and really 5 bases is what Terran needs to kind of fully power up their full tech tree. And Ryung, despite losing that army there at the 5 o'clock, I'm still liking this because that wasn't a very favorable trade resource-wise there for RagnaroK. That was a lot of Banelings going down. He doesn't have too many high-tech units. He's just now getting his Hive. It's really just Thing Bane with a kind of low number of Hydralisks. And Ryung, with his tank count, with all these extra CCs, he has 3-3 on the way. He's getting vehicle weapons. He's getting ghosts. He's building a very nuanced army. And as you said, RagnaroK's going to have to continue expanding towards him. Unless RagnaroK can quickly start finding more damage, I feel like he's gonna really be in trouble here.
Yeah, I mean, he's bleeding off huge chunks of Banelings. And you can see the seesaw in action on the map here from Ryung is, again, I mean, we've seen a hatchery on the right tonight, now a hatchery on the left, and almost over here, another hatchery back on the right. It's funny, I didn't really appreciate it on this map as much, but it does seem like this map sort of accelerates CVT in that, you know, the Zerg doesn't get to keep branching off into a corner of the map that Terran will just never be able to reach by pushing by ground.
Interesting that Ryung is actually going to forward with these medevacs. I thought he might retreat and go back home, but he really wants to keep RagnaroK on the back foot.
I think he was trying to bait stuff into going into the main. There's this whole cavity on this part of the map. You can see where the mountain is. They're like, if you don't have mutas, you can't get there, and you can't even see where the medevacs are. And so, and then you just basically use that as a pin to create an opportunity, and that's why he's able to push in here and get a deny on that base.
Yeah, RagnaroK now trying to deny that 5th base there for Ryung, and that's really got to be the linchpin of his strategy right now, is do not let Ryung get up to 5 bases, because with the composition that RagnaroK is building right now, if he doesn't, oh man. Oh, he might trade it out for the planetary.
Yeah, that's okay to do. Well, again, these are just not very efficient trades, are they?
The thing is, RagnaroK, with his economy, with as many bases as he has, his goal right now isn't to take efficient trades. His goal is to deny further mining from Ryung and basically just keep throwing armies at him until he runs out of money. So I actually, even though it wasn't cost effective, I love that decision by RagnaroK to go take that 4th base out. But hold that thought, is Ryung is looking to do some counter damage of his own. Pushing out with his bio, no tanks. Oh, just one tank sieged here. Not a lot of splash damage. This is not looking good for Ryung, man.
Yeah, I think that Ryung maybe should have hung back a little bit after losing the CC.
I think so for sure.
And tried to drag out the game. You know, Zerg, when they do throw everything at you, if they're in a macro game like this, they will have banked enough minerals and gas that a lot of times they can get a quick reset, quicker than Terran and Protoss can have because of the nature of the way that, you know, larvae come out, and you can bank them. And so, yeah, you know, I worry now that the game has seesawed back hugely into RagnaroK's favor. RagnaroK could just try to focus down that 6 o'clock base or maybe go somewhere else, but I think 6 o'clock is the base you want to go to if you're him.
And I'm feeling like he might be able to just wipe this. There's almost no splash damage to speak of for Ryung. Just a couple of siege tanks and a couple of Widow Mines, and Gliding Cows get 2 out of 3 of them. These trades are really good for RagnaroK. Keep in mind, he's on like 6-7 bases right now.
Yeah,
Ryung definitely overstepped.
I think this, yeah, GG beat me to it. RagnaroK takes game 1. And I gotta say, man, Ryung had his moments, but clearly there were some poor decisions made there.
Yeah, that was kind of messy. I was really liking Ryung's position once he got on 4th base with the planetary, but
yeah.
if we went back to his army, and he had very little splash damage, if any. He had like a handful of tanks. He had almost no Widow Mines. It was just Bio and Ghost. And
yeah.
Against the kind of composition that RagnaroK was playing there, you know, like Lean Baneling, you need really cost-efficient splash damage units to actually take those down. I mean, Ghosts are fantastic, but unless you're able to kill the Adrenal Lings, you're just going to take unfavorable trades.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, there's just not a lot you could do. I think Ryung had to stay turtled up and try to, you know, make Ryung overextend a couple times. That's what I think Maru would have done.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, is how Maru usually plays it.
Where he basically makes the Zerg overspend, and then they don't have anywhere to go. The Terran kind of quietly, you know, seizes the last space on the map and wins. We're going to go now on data C. Right now, RagnaroK with a 1-0 lead over Ryung. And that map is loaded up. Let's go.
I can do this all day. Believe me when you hear me say I can do this all day.
Team GP, Ryung. Alpha X, RagnaroK.
Okay.
It's time
Oh,
again.
it's time.
CC first, but RagnaroK is going pool first, man. That's some killer
It's
instinct.
a man after my own cheesy heart.
You knew we were going to see it after the
Yeah.
TVZs we've had earlier in this season.
So, I feel like, we talk about this a lot, but we don't get to actually see it. Where you see CC first, and it's like, well, this is risky, but the other guy's just going hatch first. But this is a pool right away.
It's a pull right away. And this is something that I haven't seen too often. Specifically, it go down like this. You got to think that RagnaroK's going to kill that CC, right? There's no way that goes up, right?
I mean, he should be
Barracks
set for
now.
a pretty big punish, but there's only 2 lings here.
Huh.
And this could be a different idea in that he wants to get maybe some other tech out quickly here. But
Yeah,
the Overlord's going to get there pretty fast and just see.
I'm surprised it's only 2 lings. And the CC
Well,
is at 80%
I don't know
done.
I don't know what the build is exactly in this matchup to just punish the CC first. But yeah, I mean, when you see pull first and then you see the other guy go command center first.
Yeah,
but it all depends on, you can either make drones or you can make lings with the larva, right? And so we made more drones, so I don't know.
Yeah, here I was getting excited, but didn't see what timing the pool went down. I guess it wasn't a 12 pool because, yeah, that CC is going to be done. And we've seen this build go 4-0 so far, I think, in this GSL season.
And a lot of the Terrans are talking about this is sort of the build to just kill Zergs if you're not confident in doing anything that's kind of safer or more normal.
Yeah, CC first in a 2-base all-in for Terran is got to be some insane win rate in tournament games.
Seems like it.
That's certainly been the experience so far here in Season 3 of the GSL.
So I want to see how RagnaroK responds to this, because RagnaroK is not a guy, he's not like Dark or Rogue, where they'll be behind, but they'll kind of know how to cut corners on their side of the map and even it out. It does seem like RagnaroK's a guy who will just sort of try to propel the game into action every time.
He definitely has that kind of aggressive take.
Yeah, so I want to see what he does here. He's going to get here. He's going to know right away. Well, he already got there, but he knows right away, okay, this guy's massively cutting corners. He simply takes a third of his own and makes a Roach Warren.
Roach Warren's a little interesting to me after scouting 2 barracks. He should know that this is going to be a 2-1-1 follow-up. At least that's what I would imagine he's thinking. So maybe just a safety Warren. Although he is pulling 300 gas again. Huh. RagnaroK's one of those Zergs where you kind of watch him play and it leaves you guessing a little bit about what his next move is going to be, because he is a little unpredictable with his aggressive tendencies.
For sure. From the Terrans perspective, if you guys saw the earlier groups, you kind of know what to be ready for,
roaches,
right?
okay.
So, okay, this is interesting. 9 roaches coming here. I want to see if he's going to make a little bit more. 10. Now, couple thoughts here. Marines are not great against roaches until you have a whole lot of them. Marines are basically not good until you get a high enough number. So maybe the answer is he just kills the depots. There's no bunker here, by the way.
No bunker yet.
But he just kills the entrance, and maybe you can just force a lift. I'm not sure. Because this is clearly a rush. It's not what we thought. I think both State and I looked at this and thought, all right, lings are going to come here fast.
It's quite similar to the previous game, even going for 9 drones behind this. So really just looking to get some damage in and potentially some SCV kills as RagnaroK. And Ryung right now, no tanks back at home, just Marines and medevacs. He does have Stim, which will help a lot. And he barely, he spots it. He sees the roaches. Can you imagine if
Yeah, I was
those went
gonna say,
across the map?
if those were on the other side of the map here.
No bunkers still. Let's see what these roaches are able to get done. He's just going to turn around. Yeah, this is kind of what I was thinking is like, yeah, Marines aren't great against roaches in small numbers, but this is 2 medevacs worth of Marines with stim.
I don't get the roach play that much. There's this thing that happens to me when I cast where I'll see a pro do something that I didn't think about, and then I'll be like, oh, well, this must be for this, and then it doesn't happen at all, and I go, oh, well, then why did he do it? But yeah, I mean, the roaches didn't seem to do much. They can help defend, of course, but already I think that RagnaroK's in a pretty good spot here. I feel like this is probably going to be a 1-1 if I had to guess. And maybe RagnaroK realized he's behind, tried something similar to that last game, unaware of exactly the nuances of the timings, and thought maybe I can throw some roaches in here and just do some damage. But, with this build for Terran, the second command center really kicks the whole build into high gear very quickly.
It does, especially at this stage in the game, because at this point, all of that's paid off, You have a little bit more Marines, a little bit more money than you would otherwise, and Ryung is going to leverage that into a fast third CC yet again. So similar play to the last game from him. Now powering up with 2 more barracks back at home, mixing in siege tanks as well. And I'm a little bit worried for RagnaroK because behind all of this, he's still only on 62 drones. He's making Ravagers now on Lings. I guess he's going to get aggressive. And kind of looking at this makes me think that perhaps his game plan is to just completely demolish the first army here for Ryung, but at the same time, I'm not sure if he's going to have enough units with such a low drone count.
Well, Roach Ravager's funny. And by the way, I thought Terran was going to have a committed push, like we saw
4 games in a row, TBZ.
4 games in a row. Suddenly the players' names are escaping me for some reason. But I thought we were going to have that, but instead, Ryung takes a third, and that may give some opportunities here to RagnaroK. Because normally we have the push coming out, we have the tanks ready. He's basically splitting the medevacs and trying to kind of cause distractions on either side here and clear out creep. And I mean, this is all fine. Even gets that spore as an example over there. But
Ryung is just powering up so much, though. I mean, the upgrade advantage that he has right now, he already has 1-1. RagnaroK's 1-1 is not even halfway done at this point, and the composition that RagnaroK is building, like Roach-Ling Ravager, it's not generally what you see Zergs go for in this matchup, unless you're going for some kind of timing, but it feels like we're past that stage in the game. Ryung is even throwing down the 4th CC now. He's getting his 2-2. His tank count's got to be pretty healthy back at home. He hasn't lost any on the map.
so the 5th base for Zerg is going to come. Funny to see Ryung's take on this, just because he gets the lead but then doesn't commit to the closer. He kind of gets the lead and I guess feels like it's, and I feel like this is wrong, but let's see how Ryung plays this out. Tries to just try to match the Zerg again by taking a third. Maybe the Roaches themselves kind of threw him off a little bit there.
Well, certainly threw me off trying to cast it. It's a little unexpected. It's not a composition you usually see. And RagnaroK has, behind this, been able to get up to 79 drones. So this is about the healthy economy that you wanted a couple of minutes ago. So finally kicking into gear. But on paper, the armies here for Ryung seem really good. I mean, 44 Marines, 4 tanks, and soon have 2-2 against just the Roachling Bane for RagnaroK. Unless RagnaroK takes a really decisive fight.
Well, he basically needs to max out, throw this into the army, and then figure out where the game's going to go from here. Because if you sit maxed out on Roach Ravager, it's just not, it's not supply cost efficient. It eats up too much supply. And even though these are kind of tanky units, you know, it doesn't get you in a comfortable position later on.
But you see these engagements that the Marines drop and they fight, and the only thing that can really kill them is Banelinks. Roaches and Ravagers don't cut it, Marines don't cut it.
They just deal damage to the Marines, and the Marines get healed and then picked up and then get back out. Now, that being said, I do feel like Ryung has been kind of slow, you know, really getting the game to pick up over here on his side of the map.
He's certainly been passive.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened there. Seems like Ryung's screen and our observer screen were both just high enough that we didn't see the Banes come in there. And look, I mean, he's sort of slowing down RagnaroK, but if you look at where Ryung is as far as growth and development, This is actually not very good, man. He just took his fourth. RagnaroK is already, I mean, he's essentially maxed out here, and he's already banking lots of minerals and gas.
RagnaroK, to his credit, has been making this composition work so far. Now getting Vipers on the field will be really beneficial to taking on Ryung's army, and especially once Adrenal Gland is researched. Becomes a lot more potent, and he's looking to get aggressive. Some tank siege behind this CC will give Ryung kind of a sounding board to bounce his defense off of, and that's going to push RagnaroK back for now.
You know, the thing is, if you look at the map, big picture here, Terran doesn't have an easy fifth.
That
You've
is
got
the problem
these two
on Beta
bases.
C.
Yeah, you got these two bases that sort of point out and almost welcome an attack in from the other side. And Zerg is now in those bases. This is one of these bases being attacked right now. Oh man, okay, a small counter here, not going to do basically anything.
No, just damaging one siege tank, really just trading those units out as RagnaroK. And what you said is absolutely true. This map, TBZ, very easy to get the 4 bases, very hard to take that 5th base. But the way things are going right now, Ryung does have that 5th CC, but he has a lot hedged on this push. Most of his siege tanks are committed there, and RagnaroK, recognizing that, tries to probe and see if he can get any damage done on the 3rd base.
By the way, excuse me, by the way, RagnaroK is now taking the bottom right.
Yeah, he's gotten pushed off this top left corner here by Ryung with his siege tank push, and that's a lot of tanks. Now, RagnaroK does have 2 Vipers on the field, but besides that, his army is not too great. Those tanks getting clumped like that, though, if RagnaroK gets some really good blinding clouds, could be devastating, because Ryung really kind of hedging his bets on having big siege tank shots, and he's not sieging. I think he recognizes this is not going to be a good fight. He's going to try and get out of here.
He can't pick all this up, though. That's the problem. So a lot of this is just going to be cleared. There is a small attack coming down here at the bottom. I don't see anything other than a Ling there to defend.
Yeah, the army supplies were very even there, but Ryung's army just spread a little bit too far across the map. Takes a bad trade. To his credit, though, able to take one more hatchery down, and
all right.
Ultralisk Cavern goes down.
All right, and this plating was denied there,
The
funnily
tank was
enough.
sieged. Flip that one siege tank on the top.
Yeah, right. Okay, so hold on a second here. I mean, oh, well,
That's just sad.
yeah. There's one Marine. He's like, oh, God, this is how it ends. I'll take as many of them down with me before I go, too.
Huh.
Ryung is not exactly refilling his supply. He just now is taking his 5th. See right there. Look, I mean, he caused a bit of a headache for RagnaroK, but I don't think that RagnaroK's growth has actually been curbed that much.
No, he did lose a little bit of tempo. Let's actually hold that thought as Ghosts get a good EMP there on the 2 spellcasters there for RagnaroK. A lot of Banelings now coming in. Liberators are out on the field, but RagnaroK has so much here. He's overpowering this position. Ryung maybe lost too many siege tanks in kind of a similar way to the previous game. It felt like he had kind of all the pieces, but...
No, you're 100% right. You know, to be honest with you, I feel like Ryung is just not on the same level in the late game where he can kind of go toe-to-toe, but as the game pans out, he's not Morrow, he's not TY, you know what I mean?
And it feels kind of odd to watch because it does feel like he's getting all of the pieces that he needs to succeed.
But he doesn't know what to do with those pieces is the problem.
And the splash damage just a little bit lacking yet again here with the push on the 3rd base. He was able to EMP the 2 Vipers.
Yeah.
Which is great, but you're supposed to take really favorable trades here as the Terran, and the game may not end just yet, but this could have been so much better here for Ryung.
Oh, I think we're almost to the end here. I mean, this is getting
69 links,
Yeah.
18 more in production.
sickest
Ultra's coming
number
out.
ever, dude.
It is. And
It's-
all these mules.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for Terran to get out of this little corner of the map. And look, you know, whenever Ryung hit any of these bases, RagnaroK, like yin and yang, just reflexively grew into the other side. And then it just seemed like Ryung sort of overcommitted. Anytime he took a base out, he lost the medevacs and the Marines and Marauders. He would siege the tanks, ultimately losing that. And now we're just seeing, you know, this stampede run him over. GG RagnaroK. 2-0's Ryung. And I gotta say, I thought this was gonna be a little bit closer, but you know, RagnaroK is very good at being RagnaroK, man. He's very, he's always improving with his play style. You know, Ryung, this is his weakest matchup.
It is.
But, you know, it just does seem like Ryung doesn't have the stamina in the late game. He's not growing as fast. He's not microing perfectly against the Zergs. And honestly, you really do need to micro perfectly against Zerg. You can't kind of trade stuff out. If you watch Maru play, I mean, he just is always making it the most favorable exchange humanly possible. Anyways, guys, we've got a break, but up next, a PVZ, Creator versus RagnaroK. We'll be right back.